Well, happy Friday. Good morning and welcome to Talking Point here on WESN, the Content Capital. I'm Keaton Shah. It's a wonderful day, only because it's Friday. But we're all excited and we're all pumped because starting from today, the North Coast Jazz Festival kicks off with its movie night featuring Marshall Montano's Bazzoudi. And then tomorrow, we have the actual jazz concert starting from 3 p.m. And then we look forward to the Juve from Sunday morning. And as we are pumped, alongside me is my co-host, colleague, my good friend, Mr. Sean Michael Small. Sean, I got the memo this morning, by the way.
You got the memo?
I got the memo
You
this
sure?
morning. Yeah, I did.
So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and I agree with my co-host that, well, yes, today is a good day. I think mainly because, one, yes, North Coast Jazz is starting today, but also, two, we haven't had any major controversial revelations in our political landscape. So it's somewhat interesting that we could potentially start to count when we don't have new controversy as opposed to days when we do have something new to be concerned about. However, let's not worry about the heavy stuff too much this morning because joining us we have one of the members of the committee that has been organizing the local artistic endeavor that is North Coast Jazz, and we have with us here Mr. Darren Leasing. Good morning, Darren.
Good morning, Keaton. Good morning, Sean. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. I think this is my first time with you all on Talking Point.
Yes, this might be.
It is actually.
This might be.
Well, welcome, Darren.
Yeah, you have a lot of ground to make up on. If you
Well,
want to
I
catch
plan
up
to.
your follow.
I plan to spend the entire day with you guys, and I know you said you wanted to have a softer Friday, and yes, it's North Coast Jazz weekend, folks. That's what Trinidad and Tobago is buzzing about, but I wanted to deal with a bit of mix of hard and soft issues. I wanted to begin today. Yesterday, we received some very saddening news of the passing of former councillor Cleveland Garcia. And I wanted this morning to stick to the whole topic of unsung heroes. And he's the first one I wanted to talk about because I first met him back in 2013 when our chairman, Mr. Leasing, took up the mayorship. And it was a split council. And Councillor Garcia represented the other side, whereas Mr. Leasing represented the red side, and he represented the yellow side, or the white side at that point in time. And Councillor Garcia is one of those unsung heroes for Port of Spain. And he will sorely be missed. He is actually the architect behind Pan on the Avenue, the very famous event that happens now on Independence. I don't know what will happen there. I hope that the family and the Woodbrook community gathers together and still puts on that event. And we at WSN surely will help them make it a reality. But I wanted to say on behalf of the entire WSN family, and indeed on behalf of the Leasing family, because he was one of my father, he would always refer to him as his real breads. He was his breads. And I think that shook his equilibrium yesterday. And so to the Garcia family, we love you and we're there with you. So that's one unsung hero. But this morning, shifting to the jazz, I wanted to talk about those who are behind the scenes. You know who are all the artists. You know who are the main architects in Mr. Leasing, John Gill, Margaret Gittins of Gittins and Gittins Real Estate. You know Jerome Lewis, though he's not here. He's the man behind all the videos and the graphics and the imagery that really mesmerizes us and wants us to come to the event. But I know Mr. Leasing talked about why North Coast Jazz. And he talked about those young girls with their swelling bellies and rural life, which many of us don't know and can't relate because we are visitors into their world. But there are some unsung heroes. For example, the Blanchisseuse Community Council. They work hard. They work probably longer hours than us because they have regular jobs, and then they come there to try and create the magic to keep that community together. People like the president, Sharon Debisette, and the Vice President, Petra Liquai. For as long as I've known them, they've stayed in those roles. And you see, Blanchisseuse Community Council represents that outer body beyond your house, that is your outer family that is trying to keep you in that community-centric mindset. And so they are one of those groups that I would target as unsung heroes. They are our partners in this jazz, and we proudly say it's brought to you with Blanchisseuse Community Council's blessings.
So we know that jazz is a relatively new event and it was heavily disrupted because of COVID-19. You had to cancel the last scheduled jazz event and then had to wait a year before you all could consider having a new one. What does it mean to the community of Blanchisseuse now? Because it's a singular event, but a lot of effort is being put behind it. Your father said that this is to try to encourage people to look at Blanchisseuse as a destination. Is there any expectations to springboard Blanchisseuse back on the pace that it wanted to be on? Or during the pandemic, I know that staycations were a thing. Was it that, that attempt to make Blanchisseuse a destination that paid off during the pandemic?
So it's a combination of the two. It will always be. I remember in the 2019 version, or 2020,
19, I think.
The 2019 version, I got to experience things that I didn't even know Blanchisseuse had. I got to take a pirogue from the fishing village and take the boat to Paria. When I was a child in Scouts, that was part of your President's Award, bronze, silver, and gold medallion to take from Hartscott to Stobel Bay. And my parents didn't want me to go, even with the hiking or the rowing. I got eventually to do the bronze, but with silver and gold, I didn't get to do it. And so the whole experience of seeing what everybody does not get to see, or what is untouched, what is not abused, is such a magnificent feeling and sight. Just the whole notion of the freeness of taking that boat. And I would encourage anybody to take that experience. Another thing that happened in that jazz, many don't know it, but the turtles have begun to nest again in Blanchisseuse. It's not just Matlot area. And so whether it's from Damien Bay, whether it is on right there by the Marianne River, which is where they're nesting, or even, I remember the majesty of the Friday night after the movie, Michael Anthony's Green Day by the River. We all gathered. They told us take off our, no lights, no phones, nothing. They had one torchlight. And we walked right there from the park to the beach. It was around midnight. And you got to see the turtles in their majesty. My children were in awe. They could not believe that they were getting to see this magic. And so they're the simple things. They're the tree pools, just the little hikes. Families can do it. I wouldn't recommend you go by yourself. They're guides, right? Those things make you understand what is the magic of Blanchisseuse. The bells at the Roman Catholic Church, the bells at Mount Carmel, they have their own story. They're older than you and I. Our ages combined, right? But we take for granted these things until they're gone. And so I want to touch back to what... Sure, Keaton, go.
I'm sorry. You mentioned all these things, and interestingly enough, Sean and myself, over the last couple of weeks, we've experienced how hard you and Chairman and Miss Margaret and Monique and John, they've all been working so hard to put this together. But I was always curious, and I've gotten a bit of an explanation as to why Blanchisseuse is the destination, why Blanchisseuse is where we're having this event. And, Blanchisseuse is a community of about 1,500 people.
Correct.
And from your perspective, how heavily involved is the community of Blanchisseuse. I'm not speaking now about the destination itself, as you would have just mentioned, but the community itself. And how important are events like these for community development, especially in rural areas?
So yesterday, I've been having to drive back and forth. So I made a trip up there to see how things were happening and to help where I could. And two things happened. You get a sense that Blanchisseuse, the residents of Blanchisseuse, own this event. And I think they do, because literally every part of the process involves they're involved in it. You take, for example, getting the permission from the secondary school and the primary school. One would take it for granted, but Principal Johnson at the secondary and Principal Constantine at the primary school, they have been actively involved. They have been actively involved in this process, and so too the Community Council and North Coast Jazz finds ways to intrinsically give back to the school elements of it. I myself was asked to serve on the local school board for the secondary school, and I went to QRC, and I think it was a privilege to go to one of those kind of schools. But the first time I walked into the secondary school, it was glaringly obvious what the difference between a school in the city, the capital city is, and what a rural school was like. First thing to begin with, your phone, there's no data. There's no phone signal, it's a dead zone. The second thing is, because of the sea blast, everything is rusted away. Everything. And even as try as they might to maintain it, it is very hard assignment. I think the hardest part of my journey as part of that local school board was going into their library. Not only were the shelves rusted, but they were sparse. There weren't books. And I know this is a cry because I sit on Gap Mill, and we feature them here, UNESCO's Gap Mill, the Global Alliance for Media and Information Literacy for the Caribbean. Our thrust is to bring kids back to reading, because this generation they live in these devices, and the pandemic did not help. And my children are my glaring examples for why I must fight for these kind of initiatives. And so I call Principal Constantine and Principal Johnson and all the teachers, they are teachers who commute to Blanchisseuse on a daily basis. I call them unsung heroes. That is why I said the genesis of this conversation was about the unsung heroes, the people who behind the scenes make the jazz the spectacular show and weekend that it has become.
And is this all a part of the theme for this year, family?
Family. So let's talk family. Family, there are families who are people who are blessed to have mommy and daddy in their homes. There are those who have only mommy or only daddy, and there are those who don't have either. They're growing up with granny. In my manifestation, and I'm sure in yours, we were fortunate enough that my cousins, I call them my siblings, on both sides of the family, and they all mesh together, and they still interact and hang out with each other wherever we go. One of the major meeting points for us was always at my grandparents' home. My cousins and us would get 3 square meals, whether it's vacation or school day. We would be dropped at our grandparents' home. And in many ways, that's what the rural life is like. But echoing what the chairman said earlier in one of his earlier interviews, many of them, when they leave school or schooling is not their option, they seek opportunities in the city, or they come out to find work. And then so their only opportunities are visiting their families on the weekends. And being a resident there, you get to see these kind of things. You get to see how the church, and there are different churches, but it's mainly Catholic church in the heart of it. The church, whether it's in Lafayette, Blanchisseuse, or Monterey Post, Brasso Seco area, it's all one priest having to do the entire North Coast. And one after the other, they come and they do their service, they are again unsung heroes because they're not only just doing church, they do Sunday school with the kids, they show them, they do harvest. In July is their popular Blanche Shares Harvest where everybody comes to it. And that's another area that Blanche Shares is uplifted during that period. But you see the place come to life. It's not just like Easter where people come to camp and they mess up the place and we have to clean it up after. And I literally mean we because the residents go and clean up the beaches after us Trinidadians and Tobagonians and whoever is coming. But that's where we say the genesis of what family is. We missed, and during the pandemic, and that's how WSN was born. We did talk about it earlier. Out of the pandemic and knowing what was happening between those 4 square walls, you had the psychology show, the law show, these things. And coming out of the mist from North Coast Jazz, which would have been installment 4, because this was planning to be year 5, where we were going to go grand. And people don't realize it, but everything went up during that time. So try as you might to build a budget and to keep lean and to keep realistic. I'm seeing party after party, I'm seeing event after event. I often ask myself, how are they doing it? Because it is working miracles with what little you have. And so if you all will indulge me at the end, I'd like to thank those people, the sponsors, who have made this year a reality. I don't want to wait till after. I want, on behalf of the committee, to say thank you now, before the first event happens.
Well, Darren, I believe we have to conclude the conversation now. I don't know if Sean...
We can pick it up later on.
Sure.
But I just want to say, and I'm speaking on behalf of Sean and I, you mentioned WSN, and within the last year and a half, close to 2 years actually, we've certainly built a family inside here in itself. And we're all very happy to not only be a part of the WSN family, but to also experience North Coast Jazz as a family. You know, and congratulations to you and to the entire committee. And thank you very much for including the WSN family, because we look forward very much to tomorrow.
Did you tell the people that you all will be there?
We told the people.
All right.
We will be there to welcome you into the venue on Saturday. So look out for us.
Very much
And if you
so.
want to have a little chat, you know, it doesn't
We're
have to be
also
about
open.
anything serious. You know, that's what we're there for. And we're hoping to maybe have a chat with some of those unsung heroes on Saturday as well. We would love to have that.
Definitely. And you, the viewer, you in your own right are an unsung hero. We thank you for your continued support of Talking Point. But folks, let's conclude the conversation for now, momentarily right here. And we're going to take a quick break. When we return, well, we get into a bit more serious discussions this morning. Stay tuned.
Calling all farmers and agri-entrepreneurs, the Agri Development Bank is offering its flagship product, the New Reality Loan. Get up to 80% financing with an effective interest rate of 3 to 5%. The New Reality Loan can help with business startup, expansion, debt consolidation, and so much more. Come in and we'll make your dreams a reality with our New Reality Loan. Agriculture Development Bank, growing stronger together.
Burning questions, urgent topics, welcome back to One on One, the show where we tackle the most current and pertinent subjects that are affecting all citizens, where we ask the hard questions and have in-depth conversations. What separates One on One from other talk shows is that the conversation stems from a younger perspective on topics that affect the fabric of our society. One on One, Wednesdays at 10 a.m. on WESN Content Capital.
Let your voice be heard. Call Madam Fix It on WESN, the only place that effectively helps you with your woes. Having problems getting onto government agencies, water woes, NIS and pension problems, potholes, and much, much more. Call me, Madam Fix It, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on WESN. Let me fix it for you.
AM Prime on WESN, the only place from 6 to 7:30 a.m. where you can get the most analytical and thorough interviews and regional reports.
The Barbados Labour Party, led by Prime Minister Mia Amour Motley, once again able to achieve a clean sweep in yesterday's general election.
I think a lot of people have underestimated the power of Tobago nationalism.
If the government is afraid to say it, I, Martin George, I am saying it this morning on your show, Andy, there will be no carnival before Ash Wednesday.
Grab a cup of coffee and start your day right watching AM Prime with Andy Johnson weekdays from 6 a.m. Only on your content capital, WESN.
As a mother, convenience is a gift. With so many things to juggle every day, I need ease when doing business. Thanks to eyewearsolutions.com, I can order my contact lenses, solutions, and even sunglasses all on the go. Registering and ordering are easy. Plus, I get delivery right at my door or collect in-store if I choose. eyewearsolutions.com. Now that's convenience in a click. Visit eyewearsolutions.com today and enjoy 15% off your first purchase of contact lenses.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you, what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through? Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
If you live with someone who's tested positive for COVID-19 and has to self-isolate at home, take care of them from a distance and reduce their movement around the house. Give them space, a designated space, and open those windows. If you have to be in contact, mask up, both of you. If you work, stay home from work and don't go out, not even to the grocery or pharmacy. And remember, no visitors allowed. Limit the contact to limit the spread.
The Trinidad and Tobago Red Cross Society. Mission-based, people-focused, community-driven.
Welcome back to Talking Points, and we're hoping very shortly we'll be joined by our guest this morning. In the meanwhile, I thought it would be, well, considering our situation here in Trinidad and Tobago, very pertinent to discuss this particular article which caught my attention. In a daily newspaper, it states that Trinidad and Tobago has the 6th highest crime rate in the world, according to the non-governmental organization International NGO World Population Review. It states that TNT is placed ahead of Guyana, El Salvador, Brazil, and Jamaica. According to the World Population Review, it is seen as an independent, non-governmental organization that turns complex demographic information into easy-to-understand articles on the population of countries and cities. Now, if you're wondering, Sean, how it was able to calculate Trinidad and Tobago's position on the list, said the site rankings were calculated by dividing the total number of reported crimes. It is very important to note, reported crimes, very, very important to note, the total number of reported crimes of any kind by the total population and multiplying the result by 100,000. However, it's not backed by the United Nations or the United States. The mailing address for the website is in California.
So, and therein lies the issue, the methodology, the accuracy of it might be subjective. There's room for inaccuracies. You could argue that with regards to some of the other countries, Jamaica and Brazil, they would also have unreported crime. one of the biggest differences I know between the two countries is they have violence over elections, or at least they did. When I knew people who were living in Jamaica as university students during an election, they basically could not wear certain colors in certain areas. It was just that simple. And to be honest, in a way, that brutal. But with that said, we have been complaining that things are getting bad. So while maybe our position might not necessarily be accurate, the fact that it's telling us, well, things are bad, I don't think is something that we should just, disregard. It's another indicator. It might be inaccurate, but it is pointing that we're going in a bad direction. And I would say that it's a direction that the train has been chugging along for quite some time. It's not just limited to this year, the pandemic just before, but quite some time. And it seems as though our society doesn't really know what to do.
Well, you see, I go back to family, Sean and Keaton. The genesis of this, the papers have said what it says, the body has said what it has said. But what are we as citizens, parents, people doing about it? One such instrument in which I fully endorse is the Scout movement, the Girl Guides, the Brownies. Those instruments channel boys and girls to become better young men and women. And so we have to look at what we're doing holistically, and we have to look at what we can do to make things better. Mm-hmm. So instead of when we were growing up, our parents would let us go and play on the street with our friends and neighbors freely. I don't know if that's a reality today or if it's a comforting reality. What I do know is channel it with your kids. Even throughout the pandemic, the Scouts and the Girl Guides were doing online programs to still keep their kids interrelated and related, to keep them beyond roadblocks and these kind of things, doing things that mattered. So kids were learning still how to tie knots, and they were learning how to do things that keep them, it is helping them structure themselves. And so you must endorse those kind of initiatives and channel those. Find the instruments. We can't continue as a nation keep saying, okay, this is our problem. We can't keep saying, well, mommy complaining on TV that he was a good boy or she was a good girl. That is not the reality or an accepted principle that we must look at in our outer communities. We must take hold of it and find the ways to channel. And so, hold on, Sean, one very important thing that I see the government doing is they're putting together all these communities. You see all the community centers are shooting up and finishing. And so the question would be, what do we fill them with? Are we going to see steel band sections? Are we going to see chess playing? Because chess is a very stimulating thing that teaches you strategy.
Mm-hmm, yes.
Are we going to see the kids getting together and going on swimming programs? Those are the things that matter. So for the last few years, when I see all the swimming pools opening and I see the focus on community centers, I see a focus to put the kids and channel them in a safe environment for them to do good things. We're on the right path. But we have to all do it together. And so I echo, when I hear what you are saying this morning and I hear the newspaper's article, I would have loved to see a counter to it as to solutions. Mm-hmm. I endorse Scouts. You can contact the Scouts at their headquarters, Mark Ainsley. John, he's the National Scout Commissioner. And you have Carolyn Sipasad Bechan leading the Girl Guides. Those are great instruments to utilize. Folks, let's put our kids there.
I want to plug your alma mater as well, because yesterday would have been their second year, the first anniversary of the She's Royal program. They were primarily, it's an initiative against domestic violence or gender-based violence.
Correct.
But also they were looking at school violence, and they were doing it in a forum that basically helped the students become better thinkers, reason out the situation, negotiate, explain to their peers exactly, their thoughts, to foster healthy debate. And I think that's another initiative. And school initiatives is also something that we should encourage. Parents need to support it, because at the end of the day, kids spend so many hours in school. You would hope that environment would be a healthy one.
Certainly. Well, gentlemen, I have to pause on this particular topic, something I'm sure that we will be exploring again. And I do like your perspective, Darren, because I've always said that often, very enough, whilst we are critical and we complain, we also have to think to ourselves, what do we do with it, ourselves? What do we do within our homes and households? We're always hearing that story about, he was a good boy, he never did anything. Oftentimes, who do you believe? But as we pause on that and we get into more conversation this morning with us via Zoom, I am thrilled and very happy. 2 weeks in a row with us is Dr. Faith B. Israel. Good morning, Dr. B. Israel. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me. I guess 2 weeks in a row. This is amazing, right?
Well, we're pleased and we're thrilled, and I'll introduce you to a close colleague of ours as well. He's sitting to the left of Sean. This is Mr. Darren Leasing.
Good morning, ma'am.
Hi, Mr. Leasing.
It is always good to see you.
Thank
you. Dr. B. Israel, I'd like to start off the conversation just to ask an update in relation to the 2 children who was found to be suffering from multi-inflammatory syndrome in children, Miss C. What is the latest in relation to their condition?
Sure. As far as I have heard, they are both doing relatively well. They are both doing well. One that I can confirm has been discharged and will be seeking additional specialist therapy soon, just to make sure everything is fine. Because remember, this Miss C is really inflammation of the systems, and in that particular child, the system that was inflamed was basically the systems around the heart and so forth. So we just want to make sure that that is okay with that one. So far, so good, but I think the critical issue, though, is that the parents recognized that something was wrong. They persisted in terms of taking them to the hospital, taking them to A&E, ensuring that the doctors were aware that something has been persistently wrong. And our physicians at A&E and our pediatricians, they did an amazing job, because this is something that is, something that we are not used to, something that they had to really think out of the box to say, hey, what's happening? Let me search, let me look up, let me not just let this go by. And they were able to pick it up, and I'm very happy that they were able to do that.
And then, of course, now we're hopefully saying goodbye to one pandemic, and we're looking at another virus on the horizon and hoping it's not the next pandemic with regards to monkeypox. I think there's a lot of uncertainty there about it. I know you've spoken about it. If you could just kind of assuage the fears of the population, is it dangerous? Do we have to be worried about it right now, or could we manage it relatively well?
So we need to be concerned, yes. I'm not saying that we need to panic and we need to go wild. We need to be concerned. And this is why the announcements were made publicly. Monkeypox is actually something that is endemic, meaning it is common and relatively high in certain Central African countries. Congo, Chad, Cameroon, those places, they have monkeypox all the time. That's normal for them. The concern now is because we now have monkeypox in other countries outside of the Central African area. So like Belgium and the US and some of these other countries have it. And when we say have it, we really mean have maybe a case or 2 or 3. So we were able to pick it up in those countries relatively quickly. The thing about monkeypox, though, is that within a couple of days of getting it, so the symptoms are, you get the fever, you feel lethargic, you have headaches and that kind of thing. But after a while, you start seeing what we call the pox, in essence, the lesions that are on your skin. Now, the good thing about having those lesions is that in itself actually prevents people who have them from going around and interacting too much. And it also is a sign to others that, hey, you have something, let me kind of stay away from you, which in itself is a protective mechanism. So that's the good thing about monkeypox, that after a while you do get the lesions, you do see the lesions, and people can be cautious as a result of that. But if you've been in any of the countries where it has been picked up, and I don't have the list in front of me right now, but there are about a good number, about 12, 13, 14 countries at least, where it's been picked up, where we've had a case or 2 or 3. For example, in Belgium, what they've started doing is they have started using isolation mechanisms, quarantining mechanisms. Other countries have not necessarily started that yet, but that is a mechanism that is available to us. We just came through 2 years of COVID. We know exactly what that's about. When it comes to treatment of monkeypox, what is treated very much like COVID is the symptoms. So you have the headache, we treat the headache. You have the pox on your skin, we treat it so that it's not itchy and that is able to clear up a little bit and so forth. That is what we treat. There are some antivirals that are available, but that is not a very common thing, and it's not widely used. As it relates to monkeypox, there's actually a vaccine that is also available. It was created, it was designed, it's available. It is not necessarily out there, so I don't think, for example, we have the monkeypox vaccine in Trinidad and Tobago yet because we just did not need to have it. The thing though is that if you were vaccinated against smallpox before, you actually have some protection against monkeypox. So it may not, even if you get it, it may not be as severe as if you did not get that smallpox vaccine way back when, 30, 40 years ago when we were giving it.
Well, I want to shift gears now. It's been announced that Comfort Inn is going to open up a new hotel in Lower Scarborough, it says. I'm not exactly sure where the site is because I haven't been to Scarborough in quite some time. And I was a bit surprised. I haven't kept up to date with what new hotels might be opening in Tobago. But I would need to ask, because I know that the development of Scarborough is one of the things that is on the agenda, as well as, of course, tourism in Tobago is a major private industry. So is this good news for both of those things, or maybe it helps one, not so much the other? What is your thoughts on how those parts of the economy are moving for Tobago?
So yeah, this is very, very good news, because one of the things we've always said is that we needed to build the private sector. The government, the THA, cannot continue being the largest employer. We are right now, and we are hoping that we build the private sector to the point where people on their own realize it's actually more profitable to work in the private sector than it is to work in government. In terms of the location, it is actually, we say Lower Scarborough, which it's kind of it's
wide, right?
It's wide. So when we say Lower Scarborough, we really mean closer down to Shore Park.
Right.
So that is where it is, closer down to Shore Park, closer to the cultural complex. Down in that area is where the hotel is, not in this, the heart of Scarborough, where you would come off of the boat and that kind of thing.
Right.
So that is where it is. But that is still Scarborough. That is still. I have walked that distance. Some people think I'm crazy to have walked that distance, but I've walked it. It's walkable. And it's really maybe a minute or two drive into the center city of Scarborough. That is a great thing, because I have actually been pushing some of the ads that I've been seeing, because they now need to hire an entire cadre of staff to fill the functions of that hotel. And that's an amazing thing. It means now probably 100 people will get employed, 100 people who we then don't have to worry within the Tobago House of Assembly of getting them employed, because they are being gainfully employed in the private sector. And that in itself is a good thing for economies like ours, where we need to push from public into private. As it relates to the development of Scarborough, the development of Scarborough is a long-term phased process. And what we are doing right now is really looking at what is there now, what we need to switch up, and determine when we need to do it. So having that plant there now, it's a perfect opportunity to just include that in the larger plan that we have for the city of Scarborough. So it's not an issue at all. It is good for both tourism, and it is good for economics. It's good for the THA's plans.
Well, Dr. B. Israel, as you mentioned Tobago, you mentioned Comfort Inn, also that line about working in the private sector is more profitable than working in the public service. Dr. B. Israel, we need an entire hour with you in order to get into that discussion. But the Minister of Health also indicated the lifting of the TT Travel Pass system from June 1st. However, still you will need a negative PCR or antigen test before entering our borders. Now, I'm sure that this is good news for Tobago in relation to the tourist industry. However, still, whilst we all need to take our precautions, are you satisfied with the, I wouldn't say the easing of that restriction, because you still need to present a negative test? Or were you hoping for the entire removal of a negative test or any test at all before entering the borders of Trinidad and Tobago?
So I, being a public health professional, being someone who understands this COVID thing, I am actually happy that we still have those limitations in terms of at least showing that at the time you are traveling, you are COVID negative, especially since I am the person who will be responsible for treating you or treating those around you who get sick if you become sick after you get to Tobago. So that is fine. What I've recognized is coming out of the last 2 years where the measures that we needed to save lives were measures that were very counter to economic growth and development. It is what it is. We had to, a lot of people had to go home. A lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people had to stay home and so forth. What we need to do now is figure out how to do that balance where we are still trying to keep people safe, but people still need to eat and live comfortably. So the world is grappling with this. The world, and we, for us to compete with the world, we also need to grapple with it. What is that fine line that we need to balance on? I think it's a good measure. I think there were significant issues sitting from the, on the inside. There were significant issues with how that TT Travel Pass app was developed. There were real glitches that we were figuring out. And so it did not work as efficiently as it should have if the app itself had been designed differently. So honestly, removal of that is helping me and my public health professionals and so forth quite a bit because of what some of the kinks that came with that, especially when we added Tobago to the list of places and that kind of thing. It didn't work as smoothly as it should have. But ensuring that people are COVID negative, at least when they're traveling, is a good balance that we still need to keep. That way we know that you are not actually sick while you are getting on the plane or getting on the cruise ship or whatever that is.
So, well, I know my co-host said that the conversation will be long, but with regards to just the public sector, I do feel the need to ask, a big debate is made about the government's 2% offer. The PSA and Tobago, they stand in solidarity, but it seems as though their situation obviously is not exactly the same, and that is because I would assume whoever they would be negotiating it would be the THA. So I do want to ask, has the THA been able to better navigate the needs of the public sector workers, or is it that just the circumstances are so different for those of us in Trinidad who might not know that, how has it been for you all there?
So there's several things that are happening in Tobago that are a little different to what is happening in Trinidad. There is a general sense of we are in a better place because of the results of the election. So I think people are just not as upset in Tobago as they are in Trinidad. So that is a general thing. The other thing about Tobago, particularly those who work in the Tobago House of Assembly, is that the vast majority of our workers are actually contract employees, and we are the ones who negotiate with them what their salary is. There are public servants, traditional public servants, but those numbers are actually small compared to the contract workers. So the volume of people who are negatively affected by that 2% offer is actually very low in Tobago, or lower, let me say, compared to that of Trinidad, I envision. And we have also we've also taken other steps within the Tobago House of Assembly to make our workers a little happier. For example, one of the things that the Chief Secretary announced recently is that we came in and we realized that there were quite a number of public servants who were acting in positions and they were not being paid their acting salaries because of paperwork and all of that. And the Chief Secretary basically wrote and instructed the Chief Administrator that as long as you appoint somebody to act in a position, pay them. Let's deal with the paperwork and so forth. You all find a way to speed up the paperwork, but they are doing the job now. Pay them for the job that they are doing now. Full stop. So that is actually also bringing a lot of ease to the public servants in Tobago in a way that they may not be experiencing that kind of ease in Trinidad. So yes, the PSA in Tobago is standing in solidarity with the thing. We are going with other groups, other categories of workers, and we are already increasing their salaries because of what they do and because we came in and realized they were simply just not making not even minimum wage. How are you even living on this, $99 a day? That just doesn't make sense. So we had actually started making those shifts already. So what is happening in Tobago seems very different to what is happening in Trinidad. And that is why you're not getting the kind of uproar that you are getting in Trinidad as relates to workers being comfortable with their remuneration.
Well, that's rather interesting, Dr. B. Israel. Now, because we're limited for time, I need to move on to other topics, but I hope that we can expand on this conversation in the future. There are two things, at least let me get into one, and this is in relation to Head of Tobago Police ACP William Nurse revealing that according to police intelligence, I'm not so sure how accurate that is in itself, but according to police intelligence, there are 20 gangs spread across Tobago. He indicated that Gola Lane and Lake Kotu are the places in which most criminals are centered. He says the intelligence on the part of the TTPS is that it accounts for the largest percentage of Tobago's most notorious criminals. Now, in the most recent weeks, head of the Tobago Chamber, Ms. Diane Haddad, has been speaking very strongly about the criminal situation in Tobago and how it is increasing. Does the THA have any plans going forward in relation to addressing this issue, especially knowing the possibility that you may see increased travelers visiting the island in due course?
Certainly. So what we recognize, though, is that treating with crime, if you treat with crime at the place of the TTPS, then you've already lost, because that means you're really just responding. And that is why we've actually made some of the changes that we've made already as relates to, some of these people making $99 a day and upping that a little bit to make sure that it's at least you're getting a little bit more, so that you are not tempted to do something criminal to make ends meet. We have also, within the tourism sector, the Secretary with responsibility for tourism has also started communicating, interacting with the police, and they are actually working out a very specific tourism policing initiative so that we actually have higher visibility of the protective services in the area that we know are tourist centers. So that in itself is going to be a deterrent. So we're not waiting for it to happen. We are going to put the police there as a deterrent to it happening in the first place. And we are going through different things like that throughout all of the various divisions within the Tobago House of Assembly. My division, for example, health, wellness, and social protection, we are now looking critically at all of our social protection services, all of our grants and all of our counseling and mediation and that kind of thing, and beefing that up so that we can provide the social protection of the community, again, alleviating or preventing criminal activity from happening. So we are looking at it from that perspective, looking at it from each component of the THA. What can you do to prevent crime instead of just trying to figure out how do we respond to crime after it happens? And
is the THA also very quickly an update in relation to the skeleton remains found from a Mauritian boat? You are yet to receive any update from the forensics team?
I have not received any update from the forensic team. I know that shortly after they were taken from the facility, from the boat, which happened to be in the village that I grew up. That vessel had been a thorn in my side for quite some time. It was actually one of the first things we did when we got in. We had to move the vessel from the beach. the bodies were moved to our mortuary in the hospital, and then they were taken to the Forensic Science Center. Honestly, I have not reached out to see what is the outcome, and I have not gotten an update coming to me about what is the outcome. So we really don't know.
So we're not even sure whether or not they still actually have the bodies in their possession, and it's been a year.
Well, it's not the first time that something has been put on ice, so to speak, pun intended.
That pun
and we
is,
have been left without any information.
Anyway, Dr. Faith B. Israel, it is really a pleasure having you on the program with us once more. Thank you very much for your time and for sharing with us that information. And, well, if you were in the Sister Isle for the weekend, it would have been our honor to have you with us at the North Coast Jazz and Heritage Festival family.
You can still come in, you can still fly in,
I'm actually coming to Trinidad on Monday or Tuesday, I think, for a meeting. So I'll be there, but not for the weekend, sorry.
Well, another time, perhaps. So, Dr. B. Israel, take care, keep well, and thank you very much. We hope to see you next week.
Thank you. I hope to be around next week as well. Let's see what happens.
Okay, great.
Very good. Take care, bye-bye. Folks, WESN breaks for news on the hour, and when we return, we open up the phone lines. Stay tuned to the program.
Seven is out, all day is in. WESN News on the hour.
Every day, we communicate through stories. Stories of ourselves, our challenges, our goals, our experiences, and our aspirations. Storytelling is an art that we have mastered. WESN Film Studios comprises a collaborative team of experts with extensive industry experience locally, regionally, and internationally. The ability of your business to successfully communicate with your preferred audience depends on the strength of the stories you tell. Your vision should be communicated in a high-quality, professional, and creative way. From concept to post-production, advertising to film, multi-camera productions, live events, streaming, and virtual conferencing, we are WESN Film Studio. Let your own unique voice be heard and your vision realized. Call us today at 628-5835 for your next production.
In this season, we talk more about health, wellness, and everything in between. I am so excited to share with you everything about health and wellness so that you can design the life that you've always dreamed of. Join me here on What's Up Doc.
What's Up Doc? Tuesdays and Thursdays here on WESN, Content Capital.
AM Prime on WESN, the only place from 6 to 7:30 a.m. where you can get the most analytical and thorough interviews and regional reports.
The Barbados Labour Party, led by the Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley, once again able to achieve a clean sweep in yesterday's general election.
I think a lot of people have underestimated the power of Tobago nationalism.
If the government is afraid to say it, I, Martin George, I am saying it this morning on your show, Andy, there will be no carnival before Ash Wednesday.
Grab a cup of coffee and start your day right watching AM Prime with Andy Johnson weekdays from 6 a.m. only on your content capital, WESN.
Let your voice be heard. Call Madam Fix It on WESN, the only place that effectively helps you with your woes. Having problems getting onto government agencies, water woes, NIS and pension problems, potholes, and much, much more. Call me, Madam Fix-It, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on WESN. Let me fix it for you.
Burning questions, urgent topics. Welcome back to One on One, the show where we tackle the most current and pertinent subjects that are affecting all citizens, where we ask the hard questions and have in-depth conversations. What separates One on One from other talk shows is that the conversation stems from a younger perspective on topics that affect the fabric of our society. One on One, Wednesdays at 10 a.m. on WESN Content Capital.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Sight, Thursdays at 11 a.m. only on WESN Content Capital.
I am Rondell Donowa, attorney at law and host of Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Strictly Legal is a legal program geared towards informing you, the public, of your legal rights, responsibilities, and remedies. So be viewing Thursdays 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing now, Andy.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is it no pressure on Nicholas Paul?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the red, white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
Don't keep yourself handcuffed. We continue to receive calls from members of the viewing public whose cable provider is Flow and cannot receive WESN. We advise that you unfortunately reside on the original Flow platform. If you wish to receive WESN's high-quality programming, you must contact Flow to be upgraded to the new Flow Evo platform. Call Flow now and demand your upgrade.
A reminder from WESN. We urge you to protect yourself and others from the spread of COVID-19. Stay safe by taking some simple precautions. Clean your hands often. Use soap and water or an alcohol-based hand rub. Maintain a safe distance from anyone who is coughing or sneezing. Wear a mask. Don't touch your eyes, nose or mouth. Cover your nose and mouth with your bent elbow or a tissue when you cough or sneeze. Stay at home. If you have a fever, cough and difficulty breathing, seek medical attention. Following the above can help us all to help each other.
Welcome back to Talking Points. Very quickly, I just wanted to share some news with you. As continued coverage of the mass shooting that claimed the lives of 19 children between the ages of 7 and 10 and 2 teachers at an elementary school on Tuesday, just to inform you that one of the teachers, Irma Garcia, her husband, Joe Garcia, unfortunately passed away due to a heart attack. He was not known to be suffering from any prior comorbidities, and it is believed that the grief was just too much for him. May he rest in peace, but he is now reunited with his wife in heaven. Darren, shifting across to you, my friend, I know that you mentioned unsung heroes, and one of those the individuals and the corporate entities that would have been able to make this possible.
Let's talk about domestic tourism for a minute. Ministers Mitchell and Kojo they understand through their ministries, their respective ministries, what making these different clustered festivals into grandiose, internationally acclaimed ones. And they've always supported us. And so this year, we are especially grateful to the Sports and Culture Fund from the Office of the Prime Minister. They came in, they saw the potential for what we are doing, they saw the growth from what we are doing, and they've supported. And you have to say thank you to those who are making it possible before it even happens. That's a very important element. So kudos to their respective ministries for understanding what we're trying to achieve. We went from, for the bed and breakfast element of it, we went from 20 rooms to over 100 rooms this year. And most of them were gone even before we hit the trigger to say that the jazz was happening. So it tells you that people understand, and more so the Blanchisseuse residents understand when they can open their doors to strangers, fellow Trinbagonians, and let them in and make their rooms palatable for them to be there. But beyond that, give them a meal and truly show them what camaraderie and neighborly life could be, community life. The IDB, they've come in to Trinidad, and their main trust is technology driven. And so I want to thank them too, because they really want to take rural areas like Blanchisseuse and help them become super areas. I know they're working on Arima right now, becoming a smart city. And so we welcome them as a partner too in this thing. I wanted though, before we run through the whole list of sponsors, to remind the people what this weekend is like. Because even though there's all the ads and different things that are in their face on social media, sometimes it's easy just to hear it in a clear way. So I wanted to very quickly talk about it. This evening is the movie night, as you all said. It's Bazodi, and thanks to Marshall and his team for allowing us to allow the people to see a free movie in Bazodi in the park under the lights. That's 7 p.m. tonight. But prior to that, Miss Mavis John is going to give you all a special treat. All right? Gates open tomorrow, Saturday, North Coast Jazz Day, from 1 p.m. Showtime is 3 p.m. You know who the acts are. They're all born here, played here, locally grown. But new and peculiar to it, we've added because everyone has been begging for more. And so we have Juve. We have Juve meets Pan meets soca. And when I say soca, John Gill and all his DJs are going to hit you all the Juve number ones. From Bungie to all of it. That's all their team will be. But phase 2 is coming, and they're going to light up that morning from 2 o'clock. All right? Blue Sunday is a very unique thing that is going to add flair to that whole weekend for everyone, because it's going to be blue. Prepare to get dirty. Prepare to enjoy yourself and let go. So that's what this weekend is about. This weekend is domestic tourism at its finest. And one day soon, we will hear on Caribbean Airlines and all these different, and you know, when you're up at 2 in the morning on all those cable channels seeing sandals, we'll see North Coast Jazz there soon. Hopefully we'll see something from Fate and Day in the THA side of things. And we have to bring those pockets alive throughout the entire length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago. We have to take ownership as a people.
Yes.
That's the element of what I wanted to say in terms of unsung heroes. So I want to very quickly, because I know you all keep telling me I don't have much time, I want to thank you guys at WESN, because you all have bared with us and you all are part of this process from journey to end. Nestle, Blue Waters, Extra Foods, the NLCB, Screen Stars, Royal Castle, Trinsulet 2, Father Asing. He's one of the he's the Blanchisseuse priest. Gittins and Gittins Real Estate, the NCRHA, Digicel, Caribbean Airlines, Massey Stores, Angostura Hadco, Amco, M&M Insurance, Davey and his team from Rentham Sound System, their Song Stages, Mirage Tent Rentals, Lanston Roach Industries, Print on Demand, New Wave Automotive, the Carib Brewery, Crystal Limited, TV6 I-95 Red of the OCM Group, Chimoki Bakery, FCB, Ministry of Tourism, the Tunapuna Piako Regional Corporation. They have been working to make sure you don't twist your foot on that field. They flatten the field, they fix the facilities. They have been working. David Young, Tracy Shepard, I want to just take 30 seconds. Tracy Shepard is a realtor with Stuart Spears and they. But Tracy Shepard has been, from day one, the person who has sponsored the QRC board. Special thanks to QRC too for continuing to allow us to do it. She is also a resident of Blanchisseuse and she also has a rental there. So that tells you how the community is reaching out to make sure that this message is out there. Lalan Company, Smith Robinson, Gael, the Empress IE. She had her show for the Mother's Day weekend, Iba, I think it was called. Very good show. And she has been pumping North Coast Jazz right as she finished her show. Rickel, well, I did thank Marshall Montano before Marpau and Sheshe Tien. Folks, these people have, even before you've reached the North Coast Jazz Festival grounds this weekend, they've made this show a reality. And we must say thank you. What more can I say, Sean and Keaton? If you haven't bought your tickets, please come. The park and ride is still available. You go to the Savannah, you pay your fees, and you jump on the bus. You have to get it at the different ticket outlets. We've talked about it. C3 Mall for Digicel, Digicel head office here at WESN, Suntix.com, Crosby's, Mart Liquor Mart in Diego Martin. There's so many different places. Come and enjoy a very unique cultural experience like no other. It's the salt and salt air. It's the freshness of being amongst good people, good vibes, fun times, and enjoying yourself. It's a really feel-good experience, Keaton and Sean.
Well, folks, you've heard it all from Darren Leasing, and guess what? With that, our callers this morning, are you going to be there? We know that our good friend from Santa Cruz, our lady from Santa Cruz, she's joining us. What about you, the other viewers? And by the way, if you have any good news to share with us, as Mr. Leasing has done so this morning, feel free to now join us and share that with us. 623-9376, 622-9338. We have a bit of a shortened phone call segment this morning. That's no problem at all, though. We're going to keep it quick and nice. The numbers will be up on your screen, and you can call in and join us on the program. Darren, I'm really excited and I'm pumped for this. I've been anticipating it over the last 2 weeks. I'm very much excited. And while the journey for you started a while ago, I know that Mr. Gill has been there almost every day. And, well, our journey begins very early in the morning, Sean. Very early in the morning.
Yes. Where? Yes. Well, I mean, you would think that we should be accustomed to early mornings, but I will say, Darren, that only you, North Coast Jazz, and the community of Blanchisseuse could get me up on an early Saturday morning. But I believe it is well worth it, and I am looking forward to going up there. And actually, I was sharing stories with your dad when we had him on Wednesday. Where my family used to spend, now looking at Google Maps, it is literally right next door to the community center. So I am looking forward to just seeing that part of Blanchisseuse again.
Don't go and cry, eh?
You know what? I mean, those were beautiful memories of when all of us were small kids and were able to come together. So, well, maybe I will cry a little bit.
Folks, don't forget to pack a box of tissues for Sean. We have a caller on the line with us from Diego Martin. Good morning, caller.
Hi, guys, and Mr. Leasing. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Keaton, that is a real thing, a broken heart, scientifically.
Yes,
so
yeah.
You should look it up. It happened twice in my family.
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, can I tell Mr. Leasing something, please?
Please, go ahead.
Yeah? Okay, so Mr. Leasing, good morning. I would like to officially thank you for taking the bold and adventurous step to the present and subsequently the future by bringing us WESN, which informs, educates, and entertains us. This is important, all in a visually pleasing and aesthetic manner. That's really important to my family because we're artists and designers. And it's really refreshing to see something progressive on our TVs, seriously. And of course, for Keaton, Sean, the best master control and the talking point. What would we do without them? So, muchas gracias for that.
Diego Martin, you don't have to say thank you.
And thank you for congratulations on your North Coast Jazz. Also, sorry guys, my real question, are there enough garbage bins and instructions for cleanup? Can you ensure that people will be responsible and leave the environment undisturbed, especially the marine life, that they won't be unduly distressed? Thank you so much.
Diego Martin, you have that promise from us. That is a given in terms of our organization and how we do things. And actually, we're not waiting till the end of the event. We will be cleaning up as we go along. All right? That's an important and integral element. As to what we are doing here at WESN, it's an entire team, it's an entire family of us. And it's a labor of love for you guys, all of you. And we will continue to do it as long as we have breath.
Very much so. Thank you very much, caller from Diego Martin, and thank you for your continued support. Very loyal viewer who's been with us since day one. We have a call on the line with us from Maraval. Good morning. Hello, good morning.
Morning, Maraval. You on the air?
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Good morning, we can hear you.
Good morning, fellas. Good morning. Nice to see that you're in a happy mood today. Hear what? I don't call in often. I was one of your original callers.
Yes.
What I want to say is this. I want to clear up something. One of your callers keep insisting that Eric Williams, in his first 2 terms, was the best ever Prime Minister. I want to make it very clear now, and I want you to listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Williams lived in Divertai Street, before that 45 Murray Street, and then his daughter lived in Cornelio Street. Mr. Cockfight, the man who legalized illegal cockfight while it was going, Mr. O'Halloran lived on Warren Street, next door to Mikey Phillips by Phase 2 Panyard. Dr. Capildeo lived opposite Brooklyn Bar. And in 1956, when the PNM started moving and came up Murray Street, they stopped outside Norman Tang's house, 46 Murray Street, to launch their little protest, whatever. No big violence. And Mr. O'Halloran was very, very instrumental in the first 10 years after that he left with Eric Williams in funding the PNM. So to tell me that it's Mr. Williams' first 2 terms was perfect, and then after that things went bad with OY and that. O'Halloran had the greatest racehorses Trinidad had. He had a horse called Solar Call. He had the greatest cockfight cocks they had. He brought them from Venezuela. And he was very, very financial and instrumental from 1956 in funding Eric Williams and being part of that program. So when people want to say, oh, it's after that and that is nonsense. Have a good day and God bless Woodbrook.
Thank you very much.
Sean and Keaton, very, very quickly, I want to respond. And we like to rank everything. And I look at the job of a prime minister as a very arduous assignment. I compliment all those, because they're the chief public servants. I compliment them on their service to the country. I don't want to rank them. I want to say, I look at them and I see what they're trying to do to uplift for us. And you have to say kudos to them. Dr. Rowley has had a very Herculean assignment through this pandemic. And I ask myself, would I want to be in that position? Would I want to carry such heavy shoulders? And I prefer to just be where I am with you guys.
Well, we have a caller on the line with us from Diego Martin. Good morning, caller.
Hi, good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, sir.
And good morning to Mr. Ali Singh Jr. Your Epiphany as a dad. Your voice, everything else. I admire him a lot. He's a good man. I also like and my counterpart on Diego Martin wish to thank you and for having this station. It's an excellent station for any good young people growing up to take good knowledge and seek it and work with it. And you have two brilliant young men here with you who I always support and I will always continue to support. And that's my contribution and I thank you very much. I hope all goes well with your show. Due to my health, I would not be able to attend, but that is something I would like to. But I wish you all the best and all God's blessing and good success in whatever you do. And continue doing the great work you are doing. Thank you and good morning and thanks for taking my call.
And to you too, sir.
Thank you very much, caller. Another stalwart supporter of Talking Point. Thank you very much, sir. We wish you all the best. And I know due to health, you may not be able to make it, but no worries. Talking Point will be bringing North Coast Jazz to you. You can look out for that very soon. And we have a call on the line with us from Chaguanas. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning, Professor.
As regards Dr. Williams' first 2 terms, I do not fear what your previous caller said that demolishes that. He talked about there was one cook in that Williams government. Today, nearly everybody in government is a set of cooks. I have listed the achievements of that Williams government on a number of occasions to you. And he have not listed any government who have produced that. Yesterday, I dealt with Mr. Manning, and although your colleague, who you said did not answer my thing on property tax because I didn't call in that day, she never said I had to call in. She said that she will deal with it because I raised the question. And that day I went to my medical appointment, but she heard it yesterday. Why did she respond to it? And I have enumerated the failings I see of the Manning government. Nobody have queried them except that one. And my final point on the public service. When you said the public service get the best conditions and whatnot, and I responded, I didn't mean that there was no worker in Trinidad who get worse. For you to pick up 1 or 2 workers who you said have worse conditions is unfair. The public service is the biggest employer of people, and if you have to compare them, you have to compare like with like, the Neil Marcy's and these other people. Nobody have commented on anything like that. And one of them talk about the gratuity public servants get. Right? And you don't understand it. Public servants pay for their pension. Right? Although most people say it's non-contributing. But what happens is deducted in front. That is why if you are not entitled to a public service pension, you get a gratuity every month. If a public servant works for 33 and 30 years, he gets a pension equal to 2/3 his salary. If you want a gratuity...
All right, Professor, sorry very much. Sorry I have to cut you, but you've gone on and on and on. We don't have enough time. Apologies. Thank you very much for your contribution, Professor.
Just to clarify a couple of things, I think what my colleague said was he, on a professional level, actually looked into it, and he merely just gave examples. That's why he was willing to say what he said with regards to the benefits of the public sector to the private sector. I think with the situation with the prime ministers and who was the best and who was good and who was bad, I think ultimately I would like to just take a middle ground. It is good to try to acknowledge the value in the performance of people and to judge it so that we would better be able to know, okay, who did do a good job, and that is so that we can determine what we need for the future. That's the one thing I would say with regards to that. But there's conflicting philosophies here on how the value of rankings and the value of merit and determining the value of the work or how good the job performance was. And I get it, because the task is not something that we have personally done. It's difficult for us from the outside looking in, so we need to be mindful of that.
Well, Professor, like I said, I respect your opinion, I respect your point. And when you call in, I will not confront you. I will just simply say I don't think we will ever see eye to eye on those matters that you've raised. And we may not see eye to eye on many more matters that you might raise, but nevertheless, you are entitled to your opinion, and I thank you for sharing it with us. And this is what fuels the conversation. This is exactly what we need. So I guess we're not going to see you at North Coast. We hope to see you. If not, nevertheless, as I said, Talking Points is bringing the jazz to you. But that is where we'll have to conclude this morning and this week's programming. And I'd like to especially thank, personally, Miss Margaret Gittings, Miss Monique, Mr. John Gill, Mr. Darren Leasing, Mr. Louis Leasing, and all involved in North Coast, the unsung heroes, and the community of Blantyre Shares. We're coming to you, and we're looking forward to the hospitality. Mr. Darren Leasing, thank you for joining us on the program this morning.
It's my pleasure, gents. I hope you'll invite me again someday soon.
You're always welcome on the program.
I will hold you to that.
We always welcome you to the program.
But remember, I'm coming to talk solutions. I will come with suggestions. And I keep echoing, I see we ended with this prime ministerial thing. I don't think we understand how much they have to read, how much they have to know. They have to know everything that is happening from the length and breadth of Trinidad. It's no easy feat. So, and they came from different eras. We have to understand the socioeconomics, the politics behind all of it. And all we should do is thank them for their service. And I will do so this morning. Thank you. From Williams to Rowley, thank you for your service.
Sean?
I refrain the right to criticize the sitting Prime Minister and Leader of the Opposition on a case-by-case basis. However, solution-oriented. At the end of the day, that is what we should all strive for, as Darren Leasing has said.
And furthermore, as we conclude, one day we will have Louis Leasing, and the following day we will have Darren Leasing. And that'll be a great discussion.
See you all at North Coast Jazz this weekend.
Have a great day, folks. Today's a good day to have a good day. It's a great weekend, and we will be there at North Coast. See you there, folks. Bye-bye.
And always be your brother's keeper.